They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet, gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen, in Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen. You know what?
What?
The other day, we went to a German restaurant.
We did.
And what'd you say?
Please make this at home.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make some dishes today that are reminiscent of a trip we took to Germany, to the Czech Republic,
Right.
to Vienna, Austria. We went to Hungary. All these meals along the way were just absolutely wonderful. Now our whole thing is we wanna know about country cooking, what people eat in the countryside,
Right.
comfort food. That's what we like. So along the way, we talked to people, we went to restaurants, and we found dishes that were just absolutely kind of out of our comfort zone,
Right.
but just absolutely heartwarming and delicious and
Yes.
wonderful. Almost every restaurant we went to, what they have on the menu?
Goulash.
Goulash and some sort of schnitzel and wonderful homemade sausages
Oh,
everywhere,
yeah.
which we
Yes.
need to make some on the show
Yes, we
here
do.
before long. But everything was absolutely wonderful. Now, every time we go somewhere, regardless of what that is, we try to get to the native, down to the native foods of that area. These things have been brought to America. Now, a lot of people, you say goulash, and they think about their grandmothers
Right.
made elbow noodles with tomatoes,
And burger in it.
or burger, or,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
many different things. But the traditional goulash comes from Hungary, that area. That's when you first started hearing about it. Now, the thing about the original goulash, I think it was pronounced more like Ulas.
Really?
Way back when, is they would boil their stew down with pieces of meat till they had almost a dried out mixture. Then would take that and put it in a bag and with them, and they'd put that back in, so they had an instant stock.
Okay.
During the Ottoman takeover, guess what? The trade routes were cut. They couldn't get their black pepper. Everybody loved black pepper. That was huge from India.
Glenn
Everybody
would be really upset.
Glenn would be terribly upset. So what happened when they didn't have their wonderful black pepper? So they had to compromise, and they had to think about what they had on hand, and even some of the Turkish people were bringing in some peppers. So they were taking some of those peppers and basically drying them to try to make a flavor similar to that. Now when we think about paprika, as we say,
Right.
we think about it as just something we sprinkle on top of deviled eggs or this or that. That's a major big deal over there.
It is.
When you see a goulash over there, say a beef goulash, you'll notice that it's red.
Yeah.
There's a lot of paprika in there.
Good.
Or paprika.
Delicious.
We're gonna make our version of that tonight, and this is a typical way that you would make this. Now you can put root vegetables in it, you can put carrots, you can put potatoes. I'm gonna try to make it like we had it in a restaurant. And there's something else that I'm gonna make that Nicki was a big fan of, and she doesn't know what we're doing yet. So it's a surprise.
I like surprises.
It's kind of a different deal. So
Okay.
my buddy Bo, he knows exactly what's going on here when he sees the side dish. If you look at this picture, this was in Český Krumlov. This was in the Czech Republic. And in this picture, a lot of people said, man, you really look upset, you look angry. No, I was just astounded at the beauty of this simple plate. And the simple plate was usually a meat and a kraut and a dumpling, as it was called. So tonight we're gonna check out some of those things. Now we're gonna start with some butter and some onions. And in this particular recipe, we're gonna go at least 3 onions. Now, how many recipes do we have that start like that, Mrs. Farmer?
Everything. Just about.
Those onions got you, didn't
They
they?
did. Those were strong. Whew.
You know, when I talk to folks who are making this, very traditionally, caraway seeds, usually there's a bay leaf in there.
Right.
There's some marjoram. Also, you could use, if you wanted to, if you don't have any marjoram, you can use dried things such as basil, oregano. I think basil gives it a nice sweet flavor. It really accents the sweet onions and the sweet paprika. And we're
Yeah.
having more of a sweet paprika here. Now they're really proud of their paprika
Yes, they are.
in Hungary,
Paprika.
and they would claim that you have to use the Hungarian paprika. We don't have any, so we're going to use a sweet paprika that we bought. Now at this point, I think I'll need some garlic on the side here.
How many you need?
3. Three pretty good sized ones will probably do it. So we're just browning these. We're releasing their wonderful flavors. All right, now, again, I mentioned caraway seeds. I used quite a bit of that. It's one of the flavors that I remember tasting. I'm just gonna bust them up just a little bit. They're pretty tough, but this is gonna cook long enough so that would all, even if you didn't chopped up version, you'd be fine, or the smashed up version. All right, I'm gonna pull these onions aside so I can keep an eye on my garlic. I don't want my garlic to get too brown. And that butter too will give this a more, I think, rich flavor. You could use olive oil. And so I'm just gonna quickly turn this over. Don't wanna overdo it. Again, you never wanna overdo your garlic because if it starts to get too browned, it will become bitter, and we don't want that.
That smells good.
Doesn't that
Onions
smell
and
wonderful?
garlic, yeah.
I'm gonna turn that down just a little bit. Now, at this point, I'm gonna start to add some other ingredients. And you may think this seems excessive, but this is where we get our color. Paprika.
Paprika?
Our paprika. This is 3.5 teaspoons.
That's a lot.
Yes, we're gonna get that beautiful, wonderful red color from that. And most people wouldn't think about using that much paprika in anything. And we're gonna take our caraway seeds, we're gonna put them right in the middle. We wanna just kind of toast them a little bit in that butter. Now at this point, we're gonna add some tomato paste. And that's a heaping teaspoon and a half, I would say. Now, some people use stock, some people don't. Some people use just water. I'm gonna put just a little chicken stock in here, kind of deglaze just a little bit. So now, if you'll look what we have.
That looks good. That's
We
your base.
have our base there that's very red, very paprikish.
From the paprika.
Some people brown their meat, some people don't. I'm gonna look here. Now look what I had earlier. Here's a picture of a ribeye we had set. Here's what happened. Ribeyes were on sale, non-cut, whole standing rib roasts.
Delish.
They were on sale for 6 something a pound.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So you think about a nice ribeye this thick.
Yeah.
It's already been cut up, but that's a $7 steak that you would pay $30 in a good restaurant,
Oh, yeah.
if not more. So when those go on sale, we had so many ribeye steaks that I had to do something else with it.
Good idea.
I mean, we ate them and ate them
Yeah.
and ate them with Tella cherry pepper and oh. So I'm gonna take my meat, and I've got some fat in here. So I'm gonna assume that in here I'm putting I'm assuming that was a 2-pound steak.
Oh yeah, that's
So that-
huge.
That was
huge.
almost 2 pounds. So let's see where we're at here. And we want enough water/stock, whatever you decide to put in yours, to cover this and cover it well. I'm gonna put a little more stock and then put some water as well. So I'm gonna get this up to a boil. I'm gonna get that fat rendering down in there. Oh, and I'm also gonna put a bay leaf in there because I remember bay leaf floating around in there.
I do remember that too.
Now we're gonna keep reducing this down, and if you get to the point where you think you need more liquid, you can put more in there. We've probably got, what, 6 cups in there?
Oh yeah.
Easy. And you could go 7 or 8. I always like to reduce it down and get it thicker. At this point, I'm coming in with my marjoram, and again, if you don't, you can use kind of a Greek or Italian mix. Smell that. Now you wanna come back with a little salt to your desire. Remember, no black pepper.
No pepper.
Because during the Ottoman situation, they were cut off. No black pepper.
That's right.
So there we are. At this point, this is really gonna cook down. And towards the end, you can thicken that up. You can put a little cornstarch in there and water
Oh, yeah.
and thicken it up. Some people put breadcrumbs, Italian flavored breadcrumbs.
So you want it kind of thick.
You want it kind of thick. And as we go along, we'll taste, see if we need to add anything or take anything away. We're gonna get that to a rolling boil, which we've yet to do, and then we'll take it back down and simmer it. All right, as we're getting to a rolling boil here on our goulash, let's get our cabbage going. All right, go ahead and, if you will, and start mandolining me some of that red cabbage. All right, we're up to a rolling boil now. Now remember, this has got to cook a while, and it's got to cook down.
It smells amazing.
And taste as you go along. Now, being that I don't like to bite into a clove, nobody does, we're going to put this guy right in here.
That's a good idea.
We get the flavor, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to bite down on that. So that's for later when we're actually cooking our cabbage.
Okay.
So now, guess what we need?
What?
More onion.
Oh, I can't wait to cut more onion.
Since we've still got the mandolin out, I guess you can just slice your onion on there. Put your fingies. So we're going to start this one a little bit different. We're going to saute some onion and apple in duck fat.
Yay.
Just a wonderful flavor. So let's start that. And if you will peel and core that apple and cut it into small pieces, we're going to saute the onion and the apple together. Now, there's so many things I would have liked to have made tonight. You know, a lot of times you'll go to a German restaurant and they'll bring you a sample plate of all the sausages and everything. I just don't have time to do all that tonight. We'll separate this into 3 or 4 shows.
Okay.
You know, if you want to go for some good German food close to Kentucky, go to Cincinnati. There's some great, great German restaurants there. And there was a huge influx of Germans that came in here in the 1850s. And they brought their food with them, and it was just absolutely wonderful. So let's drop our apples and the onions in together. Get them sauteing up. Now you could use 2 apples if you chose to do so. No one would give you any grief. Now, one thing that most people use in here, when you have that much acid with like tomato paste, you can put a little bit of sugar in here.
Good idea.
So I'm gonna put just a little bit of sugar in here. That'll take a little bit of that out. And I'm gonna taste this here in a while, see what we need. But meanwhile, we got our apples, our small onion, and an apple. We're sauteing this up. Now what's gonna happen in a minute when we put that purple cabbage in here, that's gonna turn everything purple.
Yeah, I like purple.
So you won't really see the apples and the onions. It becomes part of the
All
same
together.
batch. And when we put the red wine and the currant jelly, where have we seen this before?
Yeah.
And we got our clove
Hidden in there.
stuck in the piece of cabbage, so we don't bite down on that. Now some people would go with a lighter jelly, a lighter colored jelly, an apple or a berry, but I really like the currant in here.
I
It
do
works
too.
just fine for this recipe. And that's the sweet that comes in along with the apples. And if you want to put some sugar on top of that, you can. A lot of people do. All right, we're about ready on this, so if you would like to dump me some red cabbage in here.
A little bit at a time for you?
I'll tell you, let me deglaze just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit of red wine in there. All right, now I'll probably put just a little, I'm gonna turn this cabbage in that duck fat. So go ahead and
That'd be good.
pop me some in here. It's already starting to smell right.
Yes, it is. It's pretty. I like it.
It
I
is
like the purple.
beautiful, isn't it? And this is, if you want to time everything out, being that we only have a half hour to show you what's going on here, this is the least of your time right here. This takes about a half hour. Once everything's in and cooked up, and you kind of saute everything and cook it down just a bit. See that cabbage is cooking down?
Yeah.
It's bleeding out that purple color into everything.
Your onions and your apples are going in.
Onions and apples are going in, they're turning purple. Just like me when I hold my breath too long.
That's right.
And that was a small head
It was a small.
of purple cabbage. So earlier today, while Nicki was shopping, I was boiling potatoes. And I was also thinking about this picture. Here we are again, of me contemplating this plate of food. Those are, along with that braised pork and sauerkraut, which was delicious, there was a dumpling, they called it. So I started asking him about the dumplings, and there's a lot of people do it a lot of different ways. This is the non-yeast way. Let's hope that it turns out. Now look at my cabbage here. You can see that it's starting to look cooked. You see that? Now we're calling this purple cabbage, but it's red cabbage. And most of the German dishes that you find are called red cabbage. But you see now that this is really looking like it's cooked up and it's mixing well with the onions and the apples. At this point, I'm coming back with my apple cider vinegar, and we'll put, I don't know, 1/4 of a cup of that in, 1/2 cup of red wine, 3 heaping tablespoons of red currant jelly. At this point, I noticed the other day a bay leaf amongst our cabbage. I'm gonna put my clove in here, in the bottom, in the juice.
It's smelling really good.
And then I'm gonna turn this down and let it simmer for a while. If you let this go for about, I don't know, the whole deal, about 45 minutes, even less, if you get everything cooked up well, if you saute it well, even less. All right, so I'm kind of winging this here.
I love potatoes. What are we making?
I know you do. Take your 2 eggs and
Okay.
beat them up, if you will. Now, if you like this, and if this works out like I hope it will, I'll bet you this is something you'll be wanting to make.
One of my favorite things. Whip them up.
Go ahead and mix that up, whip those up. And let's take about 3 tablespoons of butter and about 1/3 of a cup of, this is heavy whipping cream. You can use most of that. Now mix that up if you will. Okay, let's take your potatoes, which have been boiled and chilled.
Am I mashing these?
Let's smash those. All right, I'll tell you what we can do. We can now start to put everything together. If you want to take your liquid parts and your solid parts. We might not need all that potato.
Okay.
But go ahead and start putting those in together and mixing them up, and you're gonna make kind of a dough out of this.
Oh, okay.
Now this is the non-yeast version. Go with about 1/2 of that.
Ready? So I'm just mixing them in.
Now I'm gonna start adding flour in here until you get kind of a dough going.
All right.
So I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour at a time and keep on
It's
mixing
gonna
it up.
get messy,
Yeah.
but it's worth it.
See, I picked the poor's job.
I'm always the mixer of the gross stuff.
You're gonna get kind of a sticky kind of dough at first.
It's like a potato cake or something.
You'll see. It's very interesting.
Very sticky.
Now, while you're doing that, if you taste this and you still want a little sweet in it, you can always put a little sugar in there if you choose to do so.
That's pretty interesting. I feel like I got dough here.
You know what you're gonna do with that? You think about potato bread. If you go to the store and buy hamburger buns,
Yeah.
potato buns, we're gonna boil that.
Oh, really?
We're gonna boil
Interesting.
it for 35 minutes. Now let's cut that down to like a 2/3, and then we're just gonna do one big one here. We'll save that one for later. What we wanna do is get some water boiling over here to a rolling boil. And I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna shape this. It's gonna grow a little bit too.
And we're just gonna boil this.
Just gonna boil.
Really? That's interesting.
Interesting stuff. Now this is what they called a dumpling.
That's a big
They would
dumpling.
have it sliced on your plate. When I saw it and I looked at it and I tasted it and saw the consistency of it. And I'd heard about it, but I hadn't eaten them up to this point. Now I was tasting my cabbage. It's almost there, but it needs more cloves. So I'm gonna put another clove in here. And this little block of cabbage, so it can't escape. You know what, let's put one more in there because we're not gonna cook it that much longer. So, I didn't taste my cloves like I wanted to, so I'm gonna spice it up just a little bit more because we got a ways to go here. We're getting close, but I want more of a clove taste in here. So we got a lot going on,
We do.
but sometimes it's worth it. You know, as we get older and we travel, the travel becomes almost as much about the food as it does the travel itself.
It does.
Isn't it nice to immerse yourself in the culture? We went to Hawaii. We tried to find some folks who really were cooking wild boar the old-fashioned way and cooking pigs in the ground. It was just fantastic.
That was fun.
Everywhere we go, we find some interesting people. That's about ready to go, Miss Farmer.
All right, so I'm just putting this in the water.
Just
You're
very
gonna do it?
carefully. Yeah, so if something
right.
goes bad, it'll be my
It's all
fault.
you.
I'm just gonna very gently.
Oh, wow.
That's gonna go on the bottom.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try to stick a little bit first. So we gotta kind of gently move it around.
Interesting. It's going.
Now let's get a lid to that.
Ready?
I'll turn it down just a little bit, but we're gonna go 35 minutes. Here's where we're at.
I'm excited.
Look at our dumpling.
It is so nice.
Look at our cabbage, how beautiful it is.
That's so pretty.
Now, I gave Nicki the choice. I usually eat mine without, but she likes something underneath, so we made some spatzel,
Thank you.
which is a traditional egg noodle from Germany. And if you'll just hang on to that, we'll cut this rounded end off. Look at that. Look at the steam still coming out. Normally, once you let it cool a little bit, that's kind of what it looks like. You'll notice the little holes in the bread, and you can see pieces of potatoes. And Nikki, I'll step out of the way and let you cut a couple pieces about like that off.
I'm very excited.
Does this look like taking a trip right here in our own kitchen?
That looks so good.
We have beautiful, wonderful red cabbage with the sweet and the sour. We have traditional Hungarian goulash over spatzel. You wanted spatzel, which is a traditional German noodle, egg noodle, and dumplings.
Oh, those are so good. Can't wait.
So go ahead, you try.
I'm gonna do the cabbage first.
Is that like the other day? Let me try. Let me try.
Oh wow, that is so good.
You know the cloves. I had to put a couple more cloves in there, stick it in my little cabbage.
That's hard to describe how that tastes. That's so good. Can I steal some of the next? I'm ready. Melt in your mouth. Your meat is so tender.
Oh, let me get one piece of that real quick.
Really good. I like your sauce. Gotta get little noodles.
Well, we got the carbs going here today.
Yes, we do. Carbs are good for you. What do you think?
Oh,
Isn't that good? Wow, you did good.
that's beyond. That's something you just don't normally do, is put that much paprika in anything.
That's good.
But what does it do? It opens up all your taste buds and says, wow.
That's so good. Can I try this bread
Yes, you
again?
can.
Oh, this is so good.
And there is your dumpling.
Oh,
And if you look at it, it's real dense, real thick. And it's got potatoes.
that's so good. I don't know how to describe that. I love potatoes and bread. It's like the best mixture of them both together.
Dumpling. I think you're supposed to eat with a fork. But
Are you? Potatoes
isn't
and
that
bread.
perfect with that? Mm-hmm. Now that was a little in depth, but nothing there was terribly complicated. Most of the ingredients you can find fairly easily. This is beautiful.
it's
This
delish.
is wonderful. The goulash. Next time you hear goulash, remember the history. It goes way back, way, way back. The paprika was a replacement, or paprika, for black pepper,
Oh, so good.
which during the war was cut off with India.
Yeah.
And this is just
Delish.
beautiful and sweet and wonderful.
Oh, wow.
And before it gets cold, we're gonna have to turn the lights and cameras off and eat.
That's right.
But before we go, we do want to say one thing. We have a Facebook page.
Yes, we do.
We have lots of folks on there, but you're not. So what do you need to do? Is it complicated?
It's very complicated.
What do you have to do?
You hit like.
Wow, that's troubling.
That is troubling.
I don't think I could do it, but I would try. One more thing. If you like these recipes and you think, I wonder if they have any more. We do. We have 10 quadrillion.
We do. That's a lot.
And where would you find them, Ms. Farmer?
I go to timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
If you go there and you want to know each week what happens, hit subscribe, and guess what? You will get the new recipe every week.
I like that.
That being said, it's time for us to plow into this
Yes, it is.
beautiful meal here. That being said, it's all about
Good times
good friends.
and super good eats.
We'll see you next week on Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen.
This is so good.
Dig in, Ms. Farmer.